So, Programming Note family, I was asked to join levels to this podcast with the legendary Sheryl Swoopes and women's college basketball analyst Terrika Foster-Brasby. So, you should know their podcast because, trust me, these ladies will give you a full education on what is needed to know about basketball, college basketball. Every time I listen, I know I walk away more informed. So, that is the first thing. However, they asked me to be on the podcast, and because it was March Madness, I said, do you mind if I actually borrow a little bit of your podcast and air it on my actual airway for Naked Sports? And they said, you know what? Yes, sis, you can do it. So this is the conversation that lives at the intersection of sports and politics. We begin with what has happened this past week in terms of politics, and then we move directly in to sports.
So, you know, Cari, every single day there's something that man in the White House, because I refuse to call him that. There's something he does every single day. Every day it's something. So to me, two things that recently happened that I was just like, are we really doing this? And how can other people besides Black and brown people, right? You signed an executive order to cancel the Department of Education, and you are removing Jackie Robinson, Medgar Evers. You're removing people from our history that had a lot to do with making America great, right? And I'm not saying make it great again, because it was never great for us.
It was never great the first time.
No. So how is it that, and I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on, right? But how is it that those people can be okay with a lot of the stuff he's done, but in particular, like Department of Education? And basically saying, Jackie Robinson, you didn't, because you were a Black man, what you did for this country doesn't matter.
You know, so thank you for asking that question. This is the UCLA shirt I'm wearing is a Jackie Robinson edition, by the way.
Let's go.
So to your first question about the Department of Education, dismantling the Department of Education. They will always lean, the conservative side will always lean on economy. They will tell you this is all about the economy. They will tell you this is about overspending. And they're saying the reason why they're trying to dismantle, because you can't fully dismantle it. It takes an act of Congress to do it. But when you start shutting down certain positions and departments, he says that he says that he says because he wants to give it to the states, give the education back to the states. They should be in charge of the education, each individual state. Connecticut for you, Texas for you, California for me, New York, whatever. They want the states to be in charge. The Department of Education made sure that, and you know how schools get funded, right?
Yes.
Based on the neighborhood that they live in.
Yes.
And so the Department of Education made sure that some of these underfunded schools were allowed to get money and resources they normally wouldn't have. And the first thing that I think a dictator does is remove education, so that people are not smart enough to understand
100%.
they're being duped and treated differently, and they don't know any better. And the law of the land is created. If you look at dictatorships all across the world over the years, this is exactly what they do. It's a playbook, and he's going down a playbook from dictators of past and present and seeing what worked and what didn't work. And that's why all of these things are just really, really distractions until he has the full control of what he wants control of. Everything else is a distraction. Elon Musk provides cover for him. So we think we're mad at Musk, but we're really mad at him. Elon Musk is being used. It's a mutually beneficial relationship for both of them. And I think that we are watching in real time. We never thought it could happen in America, but why not? Every other country has had a dictatorship. Every other government has fallen. Why wouldn't America's government fall?
Absolutely. Every great nation has fallen.
Every great nation has fallen. And people think that we're being alarmist, but I don't want to keep referencing that TV show, but I remember there was this one scene in Handmaid's Tale, and she said, while she's walking in her red, she's all like, we all were asleep While he ignored the Constitution, we were asleep. While he reported people by the thousands, hundreds of thousands, we were asleep. While unmarked plainclothes officers, ICE officers, walked up to a guy while he's having dinner with his wife and arrested him and put him in a plain vehicle, we were all asleep. What part of that is constitutional? How are you coming? Do you know how dangerous that is? Walking up to someone and saying, we're putting you under arrest, not knowing who that person is.
Yeah.
You can, if you did that, this can't end well. You get the right one who has the time, it's going to be violent.
Yes.
Well, and we're going to see, and he's pushing and pushing more chaos, because if you push more chaos, you'll then want somebody to provide order. And he wants to provide the order of the chaos that he's already created.
That's it.
It's crazy, but what's even worse is that as you look at things being unconstitutional, you have an even more saddening feeling that the folks who are put in place to protect the integrity of the Constitution are those who are also making the decision that these things are not unconstitutional. So we don't even have the checks and balances across all three of our government to protect us. We don't have we don't have enough people in Congress who are fighting, and those who are limited to some degree. We don't have enough Supreme Court justices because the Supreme Court has been stacked on the right. So it is like, damn. We really just out here.
You hear people saying I'm moving because she's like, if I don't have anybody in Congress fighting for me, or if he's like, I don't have anybody in the Senate fighting for me. But every great movement, and I think historically has been from the people. It's going to come from the people. And
it has to.
And it can actually come more quickly than people recognize if they understand the power that they have, because in 2025 and 2026 and parts of 2027, there are congressional elections that are happening across the United States. You do not have to keep them same ignorant individuals into your political offices. If people put the entire amount of time and effort and dedication that they put into the presidential election, into removing senators and representatives who do not align with your benefits, this is why half of the political arguments I get in on social media is about shit like this. It's like y'all spent 2.5 months arguing about why y'all hate Kamala. That's what y'all did. Y'all talked about why y'all can't stand her black ass, blah, 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 blah. Can you put that same energy into District 36 to the person that's been sitting on Capitol Hill for 45 years and has done absolutely nothing to all the things you think that Kamala was supposed to say for you? That's what I'm talking about. So we don't have to suffer for a lot of this congressional shit for much longer if people wisen up and utilize the voice and the power that they have.
I hope they do. Sis. I think that what you're saying is right. You see these town hall meetings all across the country, and people are angry. You get veterans angry, and they're yelling. These people don't have anything. They are mad, and they're letting their representatives know. Now, hope is that we see something during the midterms, because the midterms will be here, and that's going to be a strong indication of how this country feels. If they start kicking people out, and you starting to see new people, and they flip the House and they flip the Senate, we're good. I don't know what will happen, but here's what I do know. I need everybody, no matter who you are, whether you think this is relevant or not. You talked about your 95-year-old grandmother. My 95-year-old grandmother sadly voted for Trump, but I'll tell you why she voted for Trump. She's old enough to think that women should not be in these types of positions, which is so ironic. So that was her philosophy.
Wow.
But I go old school. Women should be preachers, this is a woman from the segregated South. And her thought process is, I'd rather us be separate but equal. And I'm like, Grandma, there's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
No.
But it was better when I was like, it doesn't work that way. So life has passed her by really quickly. And here she's 95 years old. And she realizes that a lot of people have buyer remorse with Trump. And she pulled me aside the other day. It's 2 weeks ago. I was at home. She goes, I made a mistake, but I'm going to tell you this. Save your money, because the more and more I pay attention to what's going on, we are in a world of trouble. This woman is 95 years old.
Wow.
For her to say that sent chills down my spine.
Wow.
She did it all. And she was like, I made a mistake, and I want you to save your money. That was her answer. Her answer to all of this was save your money.
Save your money.
Yeah. Clear your house, because it's about to be some lean times. And And lean is different for everybody, right? It may not be, you may have money in your bank, right? But lean could be, everyone around you is suffering. And so that makes you feel uncomfortable. Lean could be, your boss comes in and says, we have new rules. Like, you see what's going on with Ben and Jerry's? They got bought by Unilever. Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream company.
The ice cream place.
Very progressive. They always are fighting for individual rights. They are always the entity that says, we believe in these rights and these rights. Human rights is their main thing. That's what Ben and Jerry's is about. They got purchased by Unilever. Unilever they got into a standoff in 2021 with Unilever because Unilever didn't like the way that they were protesting what was happening in Gaza. And Unilever, their parent company, told them to stop. And Ben & Jerry's is like, nah, I'm all set. This is who we are. They just fired the CEO of Ben & Jerry's because they did not like the way that they were handling this political situation and or his post about protesting this current administration. People are falling in line in real time. Google, Facebook, Amazon, everybody. So when these big companies are falling in line, you're like, wait, what does that make me feel like? They employ so many people. If I work for one of them companies and they tell me don't post, I'm not posting. If I work for one of these companies and I don't really feel secure where I am, I'm not going to do anything because I'm going to be terrified.
You're right.
Because you're going to be terrified for your job. And what's crazy about that is back in, and this is probably be my last comment on this, but before, during the inauguration, there were so many people who were like, I'm not watching the inauguration. Cheryl, you were like, I'm not watching the inauguration. And I was like, that's cool. I get why some people didn't. So no judgment there. I just took the stance of, I want to see who there.
Yeah,
because I want to be there. I want to see who all gonna be there. And the first thing I saw when I turned on the inauguration, Mark Zuckerberg, Jim Bezos, CEO of Google, not having better seats than congressmen, sitting right behind. And so to me, that was already in my head I already know what to expect over the next 4 years, because clearly the people who represent the biggest tech industries in our nation and in the world are literally, we use Google every day for everything. I ain't going to lie and sit here and say I'm not going to use Google no more.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting at this point where I would love to be like, hey, I don't have to order from Amazon. I got an Amazon box coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
no doubt.
You get what I mean? It's like,
we still have to be, as much as we're like, I'm not going to support, right, certain things. We still have to be very realistic in that as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think for me, T, and this is my last comment on it, so we can talk about something more exciting. So I did tune in, right, to the inauguration. And besides seeing all of these billionaires, what got me was, so I used to be a Carrie Underwood fan. Like I loved Cari's music. I loved her on American Idol, all the things. I would listen to her music. What got me was when I saw how she disrespected Kamala Harris and basically didn't want to shake her hand. And I was like,
I think that is so disgusting. I think that is so disgusting.
100%. And so I kid you not that it's going to affect her pocket at all. She don't know me from Eve. But I went in my phone and I deleted all of my Cari Underwood music.
By the way,
no, I was like, nope. I was like, it made me feel good. Yeah, it made me feel good.
I want to get to your level of pettiness. Well, and I got a level of pettiness on my own.
Yes, you do.
But I can't. The person who I need to delete all that shit out my iPad and out of my playlist is Kanye West.
Yeah,
because Kanye West then lost his damn mind, and a part of me is like, and I've been going. Like I know he's been going. He's like. Trust me, there is nothing. I have no intention of ever trying to save Kanye. But for me to get rid of the graduation, that was one of the best albums I ever had. I was like,
you're like, I'm gonna play it differently.
Yeah, I was like, that ain't about to happen.
College dropout, I can't delete that one.
No, that ain't about to happen.
Yeah,
delete that one.
I think that's the biggest. Sure, you hit on something that bothers me more than anything. There is just no class at all. There is no it. They are so happy in the win, those who supported Trump, and they don't know how to be a gracious winner while they say we're poor losers. And it's like, you don't have to disrespect Kamala like that. You don't.
Y'all won. Y'all won.
Yeah,
But I also want the people on the left, like in terms of Congress, I want you to be on that same energy. You can't be you can't play nice anymore. There are no rules. You can't play nice anymore. Like you can't have decorum. You hear Michelle? Michelle said when they go low, we go lower. She done changed her whole tune.
We ain't going high no more.
Michelle, we've been doing that since we've been waiting for you to come over.
We've been waiting for you.
You just figured it out.
Michelle, we've been doing that.
We've been doing that.
Yeah. Since we appreciate it.
Yeah, we've been on that energy. We've been on that energy.
When she was telling us to go high, we were like, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It sounds cute. It sounds really cute.
When she said that, I was like, sis, when they go low, I'm taking it to hell. You tripping.
I'm going to where I'm going so low.
I wish I could.
Okay. Period.
I do. I wish I could, but nah. Not doing that.
I'm glad that we're in agreement about that. I know that you probably didn't want to talk all politics. I was happy just to do the show because, first of all, you know I love you both. But I wanted to talk. I wanted y'all to tell me all about March Madness and was my team gonna win it all?
Oh, you about to be mad at me, Cari?
She about to be mad at us.
I knew y'all was gonna say that. I knew y'all was gonna say that.
But you know what? Though here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that I actually love this for UCLA. Mm-hmm. Like, I love the fact that I am very high on them getting to the Final Four. I feel like they have a favorable region. They should dominate that region. Well, let me take that back. They should dominate the first couple of rounds. I think if they get a chance to play like Ole Miss, they'll be challenging. If they have to play like LSU or something like that, they'll be challenged. But for the first couple of rounds, they should dominate easily, right? The problem with UCLA is that I think they forget that they have more experience than they think they do. Mm-hmm. We say like, oh, they haven't been here before, but like y'all been playing together for 3.5 years at this point. Lauren Betts is 6'7". Ain't nobody got nothing, no kind of smoke for her whatsoever. And Corey Close has been one of the best coaches in women's basketball for I don't know how long. Y'all have got it. But execute on it. And I am doubtful about their execution when you get mopped by USC twice. You ain't supposed to let them mop you twice.
And if it goes right, they'll meet them again, right? So it's like you play each other a fourth time. If everything aligns according to the brackets, they play each other a fourth time. Are they tired? Do they remember? Is USC rejuvenated? Juju ain't no joke.
Juju ain't no joke.
I was there for the second game at UCLA, and we was getting they handed it to us like it was embarrassing. I was with your girl Jamel. She was.
Oh, she was acting up.
Well, she was talking to USC. I said, "Well, did they get you courtside? Because if you go over there, it's like my husband some tickets." I said, "And I know they wasn't courtside. I need you to act right.
Yeah.
My right on my dime.
Not here catching strays.
Now everybody was in trouble. And Jamel was like, "Oh, you so tense." I was like, "Have you seen yourself when Michigan State plays?" I'm
just we got a game today. I need y'all to relax.
Okay. It's serious. So she understood where I was coming from. Here, to your point, Terrika, you know what I think is interesting about my team? They need to be more hood. We need some more goons. We need y'all
That's 100% facts.
Yeah. I was sitting in front of a lady. She was like, UCLA wins with class. And I was like, well, that's not going to help us, honey. There's a big donor. Her husband went to UCLA, spends a lot of money. They got money. She's a big booster. And she was like, she was telling, because her daughter was sitting next to me and her daughter was going in and we was all pumped. And she was like, honey, we win with class. I was like, that's not going to get us there, babe. I was like, with all due respect. And she was
you're 100% right. Here's my thing. When I look
other side of LA.
And I know, the hood side. But I know there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. But my thing is, when I look at USC and UCLA, 100%, Juju is that girl. She is her. But overall, UCLA has a better team to me. Overall, right? But to T's point, I think UCLA needs to understand that.
It's in here.
And know that. And be like, okay, y'all got Juju and we gonna respect Juju, but we got way more than Juju. And that's how they gotta play. And again, to T's point, listen, Lauren Betts, you gotta get your ass on the block. I love me some Lauren Betts. I need Lauren Betts to get her ass on the block. I need you to command the basketball. And when you get it, I need you to be strong with it and go to work, because when she decides that she is going to score, she can. And if they go send a double and triple team, she also is I think a really good passer out of a double team or triple team, but she's got to be stronger with the basketball. I was so happy she said she was going to go back another year, because I think she needs that year to come into the W and be really good when she enters the draft.
Yeah.
I don't know who she's working with, but I need her to work with in terms of, a professional. Maybe, I know sure you can, because your loyalty, but I need somebody to get in there and get in her mind.
What did you say? Because
She said your loyalty said no.
Yeah, where's my loyalty, Cari?
Yeah, you like USC and Juju. I don't know. I mean,
no. That, just to be clear, neither of these teams are my teams.
Okay.
So that ain't not my loyalty. If we're gonna talk about loyalty, and I don't know if that's the word I'd use, but I would say this: I ride with South Carolina and Dawn Staley all day.
All day.
That's where I'm going. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? That is what makes it hard being a fan and an analyst when it comes to college, because you have to roll with your squad. I graduated from an HBCU. I did a few semesters at Michigan State University, and I grew up a Michigan State fan. So as it relates to D1, I'm Spartan all day long, right? Yeah. But I tried to tone that down for women's basketball, just because it's like, hey, you want to be professional, you want to be fair. You know what I mean? So I try. I'm not always successful, but I try. Men's basketball, leave me alone. Today, when we play, don't call me, don't text me. Yeah. I was talking shit about Michigan last night. I thought they was finna lose. I got so excited. I said, y'all can bust my bracket up if that means Michigan is going home. They got to go. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, it is what it is.
I'm a hater 100%. 100%. Don't know beige and blue get no love around here. So that is what it is. But it's so hard not to cheer for South Carolina. It's so hard not to cheer for Dawn Staley. Like, the level of excellence that she continues to she has completely shifted the standard to me of what women's basketball is and where it should be. I think I would love to owe the parity that we have in women's college basketball now to the beginnings of how she started to turn around, not one program, but two, because she didn't just do it at South Carolina. She turned around Temple too.
She did.
So at the end of the day, it's just, it's so fun, because the tournament, we're recording this on a Friday and the tournament is getting ready to start today. So I love the fact that I look at this tournament and I can't fill out a bracket anymore and say, well, we know the first two rounds is going to be. No, we see upsets. Yeah, we see people go, like, we see players go off. Yeah, like, the madness is real. And what I love more than anything about where we are now with women's basketball is just the way that people have an opportunity to make a name for themselves now. I can never forget Jackie Young in 2019. She was not the projected number 1 overall pick.
No, she was not.
It was supposed to be Sabrina Ionescu that year, right? And then the tournament came and Notre Dame showed out in that tournament, and then they made it all the way to the finals against Baylor. And granted, Baylor got the W that year, but at the end of the day, it was like, who is she? Yeah. And where's she been all season?
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
You're too late to get all this money, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Too late to get all the cash in.
And I love it.
But it was building. All of it was building, the building blocks. You're absolutely right. I think, Dawn, and Coach and I will be very honest. Corey and I talk all the time. I fly out for UCLA. I do things for them all the time. That's my G. She can call me up and I'll do anything for her.
Love it.
But as UCLA was making its run, I remember her asking if I wanted to go to the game in South Carolina. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to miss that one. And can't do that one. I was like, I'm going to have to miss that one, because I don't want you to be mad at me when I get excited for Dawn.
Yeah.
To your point, I understand. But the school, it's being a Black woman before going to school.
That's exactly what it is.
That's all it is. She's smart enough to understand that. But I'm still rooting for you. Like, I still want y'all to win. But you understand, I feel such a connection and loyalty. And history and watch it. I'm all like, go ahead, boo, do you. Get all this. Make all the demands. Have all the courage. Be in the zone. Be unapologetic. Be a fighter. Say no to things. My team's not going there because if they're racist, my team won't play there.
100%.
Yes. All of that.
Yes. And Cari, that's what, for me, but besides I played with Dawn, you know, in the played with her in the Olympics, like all of those things, I'm like, that's my girl. But here's why I really pull hard for Dawn is because she's one of us. Mm-hmm. And people are always sitting, waiting for her as a Black woman to fail. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to sit there and cheer her on in her successes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for so long, we have been told as a Black woman and looked at as a Black woman leading an NCAA Division I team, you can't do it. You as a Black woman can't win a championship. You can't recruit. You can't get all of those things. And Dawn Staley, she don't say nothing. She like, just watch me. Just watch me. I'm going to do all the things that you say I can't. I'm going to turn this shit around. And I'm going to get what I deserve. Like, I sit back and I watch all these things. Like, I text on. It ain't got nothing to do with basketball, but I'll just say thank you, right? Just thank you. She gets it. She sees it. She's a great mentor for these young ladies. And it's just hard for me to not pull for her, right?
Yep.
And so and I'm always, when people come for her, they come for her players. I'm gonna be the first one to be like, oh no, we're not gonna do that.
We're not gonna do that. You're not gonna come for Dawn Staley. Like, that's just the bottom line. And I think folks often forget that it wasn't in those same comments that you're saying they said about her, which they did. They now turn all of that around to make it a negative. They now turn all that around and say, well, of course she wins. She has
these All-Americans.
All these All-American. And it's like, but you said I couldn't recruit All-Americans. And they said, well, of course she has all these great facilities because they paid her all this money. But y'all don't know Dawn Staley put her own money into this program early on before it got to where it was. It's like everything that y'all are saying was a negative that have now become a positive. Now we're going to figure out how to make that thing a negative. It's just a cycle that will never end. And as we talk about Michelle Obama telling us when they go low, that we go lower, Dawn may be one of the few people who still goes high. And it's another reason why we continue to respect her and everything that she's doing. But I will say this. If there's one team that's going to really try to come for her neck this year, it ain't USC and it ain't even UCLA. It's UConn. UConn mad out here, y'all.
Oh, I know. UConn
mad out here, y'all. UConn said the last time we got to the national championship, it was South Carolina. Last time we took a real L that we ain't really like, it was South Carolina. They ain't finna let South in their mind. I'm not saying this is legit. I'm just saying in their mind.
No, you're right.
They feeling like this is Paige's last run. Easy Fudd is back. Sarah Strong out here looking like one of the best freshmen this season. They like, listen, y'all can say all y'all want about South Carolina. Y'all can talk about the Big East being easy and us coasting and all of that stuff. But I tell you what, they popped South Carolina about 29 points.
Yes, they did. And did. I was mad about it too.
And y'all know I live in Connecticut too, and I'll be like, "Oh, y'all, they got a whole parade downtown. Like, they acting up." UConn is coming.
And they mean it. No, you're right. That's what I thought about that, and they want to prove they have a lot to prove. You know what I think is interesting, and I know you guys might have to go. I'm really curious about how you feel people are receiving women's basketball. It's not that same fever pitch when it was Caitlin and Angel Reese. It doesn't feel that exciting. Do you think women's basketball needs that rivalry to get more? I mean, they're still spending the money. People are still, but like the excitement of where the man down the street who never watched women's basketball is talking about it. You know what I mean? You know how when you guys stop by, I don't feel that this time. Bomani had an interesting take, and I don't always listen to men talk women's sports, but he said, no matter what you think, and I put this in my rivalry doc that Terrika was in. The rivalry is such a good thing. And they're missing out on the rivalry that could be between UConn and SC at South Carolina. And I think that, or I feel like it could be USC maybe, and you talk about Juju taking on Paige. Like, I wonder if that storyline needs to be played up more, even though it's not a storyline, so that there's more interest. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, because I Angel Reese really provided, her being quote unquote in theory the villain really gave them what they needed to. I mean, Caitlyn was great, but we needed something else. We needed it to be up here.
Yeah. So what I would say to that is, I think that the best rivalries are the ones that continue to exist even when you don't have to force it. Because that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese rivalry, it still exists. It's just in the W now. Mm-hmm. As it relates to women's college basketball, one thing that I've always noticed, and then Sheryl, you played on the college level. I knew I was done after high school. College was not going to be for me. So I don't have this experience, but it feels like, what I love about college rivalries is that no matter who plays there, no matter how long, like UCLA is always going to hate USC. It don't matter if Reggie's there. Yeah. It don't matter if Lisa's there. It don't matter if, it don't matter if Cheryl Miller's there. USC and UCLA, Michigan and Michigan State will always hate each other. It don't matter. I don't care who played there. I don't even need to know the players. If you're wearing maize and blue, I don't fuck with you. You get what I'm saying?
Michigan State came and got her.
Can you hear? Am I back?
Okay. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and now I feel like at one point in time that was UConn and Tennessee. It was like it didn't matter where it was, what was going on. Like it didn't have to have a player name attachment. So I say all that to say that I feel like organic school rivalries are building and have built. I think that South Carolina and UConn, especially if they reach, again this year, could definitely be that kind of rivalry. USC continuing to stay, and if Lauren Betts comes back next year, as she's alluded to, that crosstown rivalry is something that continues to grow. I don't think rivalries are sustainable when it is just based upon people.
Yeah. If they need to be based on the school.
They need to be based on. We need to make these two schools, these teams face each other so much and so good to where they start to feel a way about it, because people come and go. We see that in the men's game. In the men's game, Duke and North Carolina gonna forever be a rivalry. It don't matter who's playing there.
Yes,
it's forever. Yes. It's gonna be prime time every single time. That championships classic is always gonna be Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State, and Duke. It ain't gonna never change because those schools are always, and it's always gonna bring eyes and attention. The women's game have yet to have that one. Not since UConn and Tennessee. They have not had that one school where you just like, I don't care who playing. If these two teams matching up, it might be nasty.
You know what? So I totally agree with you on that. I have a different perspective as well when you talk about rivalries. Like I didn't think Angel and Caitlyn was a rivalry. Honestly, I thought this was. You have this really, 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 really good white player, and you have this really good black player, and because of that, I think people were like, well, I got to pick one or the other. I got to rock with Caitlyn or I got to rock with Angel. Because to me, a lot of the stuff that people talked about, it didn't really have anything to do with the two of them playing basketball. Because they didn't guard each other.
Yep.
Like, Caitlyn is in her own world. Caitlyn plays a certain way. She plays a certain position. She does the thing she does, and Angel does the thing she does, right? So, like, both of these players can be really good. I think people tried to make it a rivalry because that was exciting for the game. I will say this. I loved it. Whether you consider it a rivalry or not, I loved it because people were talking about the women's game. Yep, they were talking about Angel. They were talking about Caitlyn. But you ended up talking about the WNBA. You ended up talking about the game. I think a lot of times when people think about women's basketball, women's sports in general, but in particular women's basketball, they want us to all be like kumbaya. Oh, they all like each other. Oh, they're all best friends. Oh, they don't curse. They don't swear. They don't play hard. They don't foul. Bullshit.
Right.
Like, we've always played that way. And you know what? I'm okay if you don't like me.
Yeah.
When we, even if you do like me, when we step on that court, I'm coming for your head every single time. And when the game's over, if we friends, when the game's over, we cool. We can go have drinks. We can go talk. We can go talk about how I just gave you 40 and how you thought you was going to hold me to 25.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Cari, to your point, I do think it's really, really, really good for the game. But I also think we're at a place right now, whether that's because of Caitlin, Angel, and the whole rookie class last year, but also the Asia Wilsons, the Diana Taurasi's, right? I think we're at a place right now, though, where women's basketball is in a really good place. People are talking about it. I got people talking to me about it that didn't even know the WNBA existed until this season. Right?
Yeah.
And I'll end on this because I said this yesterday. I know there's a new CBA coming up. I know the players are like, listen, we want X, Y, and Z. Rightfully so. This is just my 2 cents, but I will say this. If you don't get all those things that you're asking for, now probably ain't the best time for a lockout.
Why would you say that?
Because of where the game is right now.
Oh,
I don't think we're at a place where we want to go down that road, right?
If you lose that momentum, it's no guarantee that you will pick that right back up.
Wow, what a tough space to be in, because I know players want to get more things, and you got a generation of players and only a handful, but they're used to getting what they want. You talking to the likes of an Angel and a Caitlin and all these other players that came in, they're used to fighting for what they want.
Well, as they should. So here's the thing, right? They should. And I do think it's because of the Angels and the Caitlins that they probably will get a lot of the things they're asking for. Yeah. But here's the other thing I'll say. You also only have probably a handful of players that can afford to not
do that.
Play.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Yep. The opportunities are there. When I look at, you know what, during March, I saw a Flagey Experian commercial. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's great where everything that I'm seeing that they're doing, that's happening, that these women deserve. This is where we always wanted to see the league, right?
Yep.
All these opportunities that they're getting. But you also have to be strategic in what your plan is going to be, right? You go to the table and you say, we want X, Y, and Z. And if they come back, they're like, all right, we'll give you X and Z, but why? Don't know. So weigh your options. Is it really worth you all saying we're not gonna play because we want Y also? Last thing I'll say, I do feel with Unrivaled and even with Athletes Unlimited, right? There are 2 other pro leagues that these women have an opportunity to play in. Granted, Unrivaled only had 30 players, AU only had 40 players, but because there are other opportunities, that is going to put pressure on the W.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Sheryl. I was literally getting ready to say when you were done that I don't think that it will even need to get to a lockout, because I think the W isn't stupid. As much as people criticize them, they're not stupid. And they understand the product that they have. And they too understand that this is a momentum that they can ill afford to lose.
Yeah.
This is a time that they can ill afford to. They have an opportunity to put this league in a different category, in a different financial status. And I don't think that they would also be willing to waste that over being stubborn. It has not worked in the years past. It will not work moving forward. So I genuinely hope that they are wise enough to understand that there is a give and take, and as much as they want the players to give and 100%. Take, they have to give a little bit too. So I don't think it'll get to a lockout personally.
Okay, that's so
100%.
Smart. And by the way, all the nuance to what's happening, I love that. I love the idea of being like knowing that Unrivaled and these other leagues exist. The W will have to understand that these players do have more leverage than they need. And you're right, only a handful of players, Sheryl, can actually be like, I'm all set.
I'm straight.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I got.
And so that's why it's important, Cari, to have the right people in the room when it comes to the negotiating, because it can't just be about you, right? Like, well, this is what I want, because you're speaking for the entire league. You're speaking for all these women who don't have these endorsement deals, who don't have these opportunities, who might only be making $75,000 during the WNBA season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you remember the movie 144? Remember the movie that 144 that came out?
Yeah.
One thing that always sticks out to me is Courtney Williams. 144 was the movie about the
documentary
the documentary with the players in the bubble during the pandemic. And
it's really good.
It's really good. Okay. And Courtney Williams was very vulnerable in there. And when they showed the clips of them being at the table amongst each other speaking, Courtney said, the question became whether or not they play a specific game because of a player because of
this?
Say it again.
Okay. She was 44, right?
Candace wasn't in that one.
Candace wasn't in 144.
It was
this
Sue
was
Bird.
NECA, Sue Bird, Kelsey Plum. It was
Elizabeth Williams.
In 144, the players were having a conversation whether or not to play a specific game because there was a shooting in which Jacob Blake was shot, and the NBA, when they were in their bubble, they decided they were not going to play. And so the WNBA had to make a decision whether or not they were not going to play. And here you are in a season where there are more eyes on your sport than any other eyes because we're in a pandemic. Can't nobody go nowhere. They're playing in the summertime. And on top of that, it's all about how you make money. You make money based off how you play and when you play. And so Courtney Williams was like, listen, I'm not about not trying to play this game because I can't afford to not play. I can't afford the ramifications that could come from networks or whoever else don't want to show our games no more because we're deciding not to play. And so there was conversation, and I respected Courtney Williams for that because 100%. It was very clear that it wasn't necessarily because I feel that we shouldn't stand up for Jacob Blake, but the reality is I have to provide, and she said this, it's my responsibility to provide for my family. I can't provide for my family if no checks come through, because the rest of y'all can afford to provide for your family, whether y'all get this check or not. I ain't got that. And I never had more respect for Courtney than I did at that moment because she kept it real and she spoke for so many other people who
wouldn't speak up.
Who wouldn't speak up but felt the same way. It's not about wanting to not stand up for this right, but it's also about being realistic that I don't make what y'all make. I can't afford to miss checks. And I think that's a conversation that will happen amongst players, not in front of the WNBA, but just amongst each other, amongst peers, when they consider, if it ever gets to this part, a lockout where you have to be considerate of your sister and everybody don't got it like you got it.
And by the way, that is a decision that has to be made in every professional sport. That's why the NFL finds themselves fighting and people won't all protest and people say that because there are players who make no money on, and then there are players who make a lot of money. There is, and by our standards, they all make a lot of money, right? But you're talking about somebody who might do a league minimum at 500 versus somebody who has $100 million deal.
Yeah.
To approach the game differently, so it makes sense. It totally does. Wow, you gave me a full education. I hope they don't lock out there, Cheryl, because we don't want to lock out.
We don't. No, it just listen. The momentum that we have right now is, to be honest with you, there are times where I'm like, damn, this is really happening in the WNBA for the W players, and so that's why I'm like, it's. You know what? Maybe in 5 years, if we're back here having this conversation, I might feel differently.
Yeah.
But just the viewership, the attendance, I don't even care if it was bad publicity. You're talking about the WNBA, right? We just don't want to get to a point where we're like, all right, we're not going to play this season, and all of that momentum, like, it's for
goes away.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I don't want y'all to lock out either because that's my paycheck. What you mean?
Seriously.
I got to cover this sport. How they gonna keep me on payroll and I ain't got no sport? How they gonna don't y'all mess with my bread? Come on, 144. Don't mess with my bread. Oh, it ain't 144.
Oh, it's gonna be more.
It's going to be more. We done added 3 new teams.
Will it be?
We got to add 36 small people. Anyway, Cari.
That math is mathing.
My degree in political science, not math.
I was just adding the Valkyries. for this season.
Okay.
OMG. Cari, we appreciate you.
I
so
appreciate
much.
you. I could sit here all night and talk to y'all. Y'all just gave me a full education. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. And I love what we did. I love how we did it all. We put the intersection of all of it together.
We did.
We're not a monolith. We know all things. And so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We didn't kept Sheryl away.
Cari, we love you to pieces.
Listen,
I'm sorry. It's my birthday weekend celebration, and my husband's taking me to like a little staycation. So he like, babe.
Oh, good for you. Okay. I love it. Congratulations. Happy birthday.